Dr. Foxx.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Burwell, I want to follow up somewhat on what my colleague, Mr. Byrne, was talking about in his line of questioning. But first I want to say I've heard from employers who self-insure that this transitional reinsurance fee is particularly burdensome to them, depriving them of resources that could be used instead to create jobs. And you asserted that HHS interpreted the law accurately and appropriately. You claim that the comment period for the NPRM resulted in no objections to the department's interpretation of the law. However, most of us believe that the NPRM was drafted in such a complicated way that no one could interpret it in the way that your department did, where you use convoluted language to create a loophole to justify your reasoning. Given your dubious interpretation of the law thus far, and you've heard members of this committee, and you will hear us say, we think you've interpreted it wrong. I agree with Mr. Byrne, you've interpreted it wrong. You're hearing directly from members of Congress, you've interpreted wrong. I'm now concerned that you're going to find a way to extend the transitional reinsurance program, even though the law clearly states that it expires this year. So could you expand in greater detail your legal interpretation of implementing the transitional reinsurance program contrary to the letter of the law? And can you commit to this committee that you will follow the letter of the law, which states the program must cease collections for the program at the end of this year? Do you plan to distribute funds after 2016?
With regard to the question of the reinsurance program, I think it's actually important to focus on what the substance of this program is about. And the substance of this is an issue that we've actually talked about in a number of places, which is pressure on costs. You were indicating in another space in terms of this is about putting downward pressure on costs by creating an ability for the issuers in a new market. This is one of the transitional programs, and there are no plans to extend it beyond.
Okay, so you consider the transition period time is over?
We have no plans to change our reinsurance timetable that was set out. Risk adjustment is the only program that will continue beyond right now.
Okay, when you say we have no plans, would you be a little more explicit? You will or you will not?
I'm being very clear. We have no plans. We just issued our rulemakings, our proposed notice of payment notice. There is nothing that indicates anything that we do other than where we are.
All right. Madam Secretary, I have some other questions, but Mr. Chairman, in the interest of time and my colleagues, I will yield back the balance of my time.
I thank the gentlelady, Mr. Pocan.